Hi, it's Rebecca Whitman, your host of the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant Show. I'm a top-rated life coach, an international best-selling author, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I'm on a mission to help you go from burned out to balanced, beautiful, and abundant. The experts on this show will help you achieve work-life balance so that you can experience abundance in 7 pillars of life: spirituality, health, emotions, romance, mindset, social, and financial life. When you have all 7 pillars of life in alignment, you are balanced, beautiful, and abundant. Let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant podcast. My name is Rebecca Whitman, your host. We are taking you from burned out and overwhelmed to balanced, beautiful, and abundant. We thank you for all your love and support. Because of all the wonderful people who listen to this show and share it, we are in the top 0.5% of all podcasts globally in self-help. So please keep sharing the podcast, helping people go from burned out to balanced, beautiful, and abundant. We have a wonderful guest. His name is Sean Frost. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it for sure. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I'm going to tell you guys about Sean. Sean is the driving force behind the Live Like They Dream real estate team. And he isn't just a real estate broker, he is a multi-passionate entrepreneur. He has done all different kinds of things. We're going to talk all about him and all his different streams of income. But what I really love about him is he's so focused on family, being a great husband and a great dad. But about his success, he has led a real estate team to success. He also owns 2 custom home construction companies. And beyond these ventures, he says his heart finds its center in the role of dad, which is just so sweet. He also has a creative spirit which shines through his music production company. It is called I Am Sean Frost. He nurtures the careers of 2 hip hop artists, TwoTiime and JSTN DMND. Am I saying those right?
You got it.
Okay, awesome. And as if this weren't enough, the real estate, the construction, the hip hop production, he is also the part owner of a professional soccer team, or as they say in Canada, where he's from, football. And that is called Atletico Ottawa. His community service has won him the Volkswagen Canada's Game Changer Award. He does community service with CHEO and the Ottawa Boys and Girls Club. So you are just doing it all, Sean. And I know that you came from, very humble beginnings. Tell us your story. How did you go from growing up in a blue collar home to being a part soccer team owner, real estate mogul, construction owner, hip hop producer? Like, you have had such an incredible transformation. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, thanks for the glowing intro, Rebecca. So, yeah, where to begin? I grew up in a single parent family. It was just my mom and myself. I'm an only child. I was living as a infant and toddler in Florida. My parents ended up going separate ways. I would say pretty amicably, which was great. That comes into play later in my life, but my mom and I basically came back up from Florida to Ottawa, and we were staying with my grandparents. My mom got a job at the Ottawa hospital where she was working before I was born. So she was just making ends meet until basically she could afford a place for the 2 of us. So yeah, humble beginnings for sure. We were living in an apartment when we finally got our first place. No TV, but we used to dance around the kitchen table when a good song would come on the radio. And I basically never knew what I was missing. I wasn't really missing anything.
You were happy.
Very happy, always. So I've been super fortunate in that regard that I've through the ups and downs, it's always been a very positive environment for myself, which kudos to my mom, and she kind of instilled that hard work and consistency, and just really ingrained a lot of good values into me, and integrity. And then on the flip side, my dad came back from Florida. He was he would bounce around from job to job, not so much because of failing, but always trying to find the right fit or something that he could excel better at. And that included starting his own businesses as well. So I got a taste for, from the outside looking in at watching my dad kind of bounce around. And every time I'd see him, he'd have a new business card, which at the time was funny. But looking back on it now, I can obviously see where a lot of that, a lot of my entrepreneurial spirit has come from. And yeah, so that was, I kind of got the grinding and the hustle mentality from my dad. And then, that hard work, consistency, dedication from my mom. So I was able to kind of, unintentionally blend those together, and then kind of started the journey. And I started as a music producer in high school. That was my first taste of being an entrepreneur. Made a little bit of money there, went to university at the same time. So I was kind of working in 2 recording studios and going to school. And one of the studios was down in Kansas City. I was working with some artists down there. Ended up, quote unquote, cashing out in my early 20s, and staying in Ottawa. I met my wife, and then got a job at the Ottawa hospital myself, and thought, okay, you know what? I'm finally doing like a real, quote unquote, a real job on paper, good paper trail, stable. But yeah, quickly realized that although I really liked the job, there wasn't anywhere for me to grow. So I spent a lot of time there feeling like I was in a dead end job.
You were
And
a nurse, right? At the
I
Ottawa.
was actually, I was working in patient care. So I was a tech aide. So I would basically help patients in all the different radiology modalities. So like from nuclear medicine and X-ray to CT to MRI, like across the board, but working with patients. Cause that was, I've always I'm a people person. So I've always enjoyed working with people, and that was a great environment to although it was dead end job in terms of like monetary value and like climbing up the ladder, I would say it was super rewarding in the sense that you're front line. So you could feel like you're making a difference because you're making somebody's day. So that in that regard, I really loved it, but I wasn't fulfilled. It wasn't enough for me. So then I started a general contracting company, hated it. And I did that for a couple of years while working at the hospital, and just now I was feeling like I was in a dead end job on one side, and like hated the like moonlighting the general contracting on the side, was making some money and getting jobs, but I absolutely despised it. So then I found myself like stuck between a job that's going nowhere and then a job that I absolutely hate, and one on the entrepreneurial side and one in the 9 to 5 corporate side. So I just felt like, I was making a paycheck still, but it wasn't me. I was absolutely stuck. Like I felt like my feet were in fresh cement, and there was just I was drowning. Yeah.
So how did you go from drowning? You're doing the nursing or the aid, health aid. You hate
Yep.
that. You hate being a contractor. How did you turn it around? What happened?
Well, one, I just decided that was it for the general contracting company. Woke up, called my partner, and said, I'm out. It's done. I'm shutting it down. I'm not selling the business. I'm not looking at the business again. I'm hoping you're okay with that. I'm going to help you get through these last jobs that we have ongoing. As soon as those are done, I'm out. I'm shutting the business down. And he's a very, very good friend of mine. We've been friends forever, and he knew. He understood, and he said, bro, like, Sean, this is not, I know it's not for you. I know you hate it. I appreciate you helping me get off my feet, or helping me get on my feet, I should say. In the construction realm, English was a second language for him, so I was really helping him nail jobs. At this point, we had built up a big enough network that he could probably just go out on his own and do okay. I closed that down, and luckily enough, it was great fortune that a buddy of mine said, listen, you're meant to be a real estate broker. Like, you can do this in your sleep. You're going to love it. You're working with people nonstop. There's no ceiling. It's all based on dedication, consistency, work ethic, being relentless, which is right up your alley. You got to do this. So I said, all right, I'm always down for self-improvement in terms of taking a course or taking a class to broaden my horizons. So I'm like, hey, what's the worst that can happen? I take the course. get my license and find out it's not for me. Well, at least I tried it.
Yeah.
So I did. And I worked at the hospital at the same time. I got my broker's license. Excel was fortunate enough to excel right away. So first year, obviously slower than the other years because I'm just building the business, but I could feel it right away that I just felt right. I felt at home. And I actually ended up working as a real estate broker and at the hospital for 4 years, doing both. And I really farmed a lot of business and prospecting through the Ottawa hospital because I worked with the radiologists, the nurses, the doctors, people that were great candidates to be buying and selling. So that's what I did. And it was just absolutely fantastic. So that dead end job went from a dead end job to an absolutely amazing prospecting pool to grow my own business.
Incredible. So that's one of the things that I teach in my coaching practice is I tell people don't quit your job, get a side hustle. That way you don't have to put like your family in jeopardy. They still have their health benefits, they still have food on the table, and you create this side hustle and then you can either have multiple streams of income or just segue in. So 4 years, guys, if you're listening, and he used the connections from the hospital to be his first clients in real estate. So that is really good too, because when you're in your job, people there know, like, and trust you, and they could be customers for your side hustle. So, how did you finally decide to leave the hospital and then go into real estate and then add back the music production?
Yeah, yeah. So good question. So that was my first, kind of rock bottom, was feeling stuck in terms of the job. So then from there, I got the real estate stuff going. And just as I was getting into real estate, things were still tight. So money was tight, especially since I was trying to embark on a new career. So I was feeling it at this point. So I went from feeling constricted work-wise and life-wise to now financially. And my wife actually started it because she said, in terms of mindset and stuff, I thought I was in an okay spot, but I didn't realize how much I could learn until I started learning it. And she recommended reading The Secret, oddly enough. So I started laughing and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And she's like, yeah, you are. So I'm like, okay. So I read The Secret and I was like, okay, I'm going to play along. So as I was transitioning out of the construction into the real estate world, I decided to make a vision board. On the vision board, I wrote a $25,000 check to myself. As playing along, I'm working with it, and I put other things, a new like a house on there, a couple other things, car, materialistic stuff. But then, also tried to envision like other qualities of life that I wanted to bring upon myself. So I went out to the builders to look for design ideas for the end of the construction job and the start of real estate, so I could start to figure out like, what are things called? What's hot? Like, how can I converse with clients and know what I'm talking about? And oddly enough, I ended up at a builder's office, and there was a lot there that it pulled me. There was a magnetic pull to this empty lot, and the staff at the builder said, "Hey, if you want to buy it, it's $50,000 off the lot and the house that we can put on this." And I'm like, okay, well, that's all well and good because I have $1,000 in my bank account. That's it. That's it. Like, and I got to eat, and I'm gonna have to pay a mortgage. At this point, we owned a little condo townhouse that I actually was my mom's. So when she moved, I bought it off of her because I had my recording studio in the basement, and it was too nostalgic. I couldn't let it go. I felt like I was losing a piece of myself. So kept it. Anyway, I was like, okay, what does it entail to buy this house? And they're like, a $25,000 deposit, then your down payment at closing, which is going to be in 10 or 11 months. And then away you go, as long as you qualify for a mortgage. And I'm like, okay, well, 25 grand, I do not have 25 grand, but I feel like this would be a great opportunity if I did have 25 grand. So I left there and I drove to the bank, and I sat down with a teller. I ended up getting an appointment with a manager in the back, and I asked for a loan, a line of credit. And they ran it through, and they're like, yeah, you got good credit. I didn't really owe anything aside from a mortgage. So they said, we can give you a line of credit without doing a deep, extensive dive into, finding out what you're approved for. You're instantly approved for a line of credit. And I said, great. How much is a line of credit? They said $25,000. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird,
Yeah.
but I'm going to open that. And they're like, okay. And I was like, so can I can you write me a bank draft? Can you write me a check for $25,000? And they're like, out of the line of credit that you're just opening? I'm like, that's correct. And they're like, okay. So they wrote it hesitantly, like, but it was my line of credit. They didn't have much choice. So I got it, went and picked my wife up, drove back to the builder's office, didn't tell her anything at this point, and went back there, showed it to her, this and that. And she's like, oh, yeah, imagine, like, this would be amazing, but we don't have any money. And I pulled out this check and she's like, where did you get that from? I'm like, I just opened a line of credit before picking you up. Should we do it? And she's like, well, like, can we do it? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. She's like, all right, we'll figure it out. So we did. We put the $25,000 down. Times were a little different then, but yeah, put the 25K down, ended up making it work. But that, like, instantly, I remember going back home and being like, looking in my office, seeing the vision board and being like, oh my God, like, this just literally happened. Like, this is like 48 hours later. I didn't even remember that I wrote this check. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. It's 25 grand. Like, so then I went down the rabbit hole. We got this house. As soon as we moved into the house, things were okay. But because of all the expenses, again, financially, I hit rock bottom. We got the house in like October. Christmas came and I could afford a Christmas tree. That was it. And it was just the two of us at the time, but I couldn't afford to buy any presents for my wife, for anybody, like family members, nothing. And I remember that feeling of being like, okay, I've dug myself out of one spot, feeling that I was like trapped in it and in a cage. But now I'm like super tapped out to the point where I've never been like this before in my life. I'm literally scrounging to like try to get groceries. It's Christmas. We're both Christmas junkies. And yeah, we have a roof over our head in a brand new home, which is absolutely incredible. But I felt inadequate. I felt like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Like, have I overextended us? I can't even afford like a Christmas present. So I remember that feeling and just feeling helpless and again, like inadequate and just low. Like I just felt like on rock bottom. So then from there I was like, okay, that's it. My back's against the wall. I'm going pedal to the metal and I'm never looking back.
So it was like that moment you just decided that I'm just going to go for it.
Everything.
And what did you do differently? How did your actions look differently after that Christmas where you couldn't afford gifts?
Yeah. So everything went from what I didn't have to what I do have.
Hmm.
Right. I just had to get through Christmas. So as soon as
Yeah.
Christmas Day was over and I felt super crummy, over the next few days, I really was able to kind of recenter and think about like, oh my God, look at what I do have. Because the reason and then that was the other kicker that I couldn't see is that the reason that I was so strapped on financially is because I didn't sell that townhouse, that condo townhouse that we had. We kept it. So if we had sold that, and that's what I had to get my head around. I'm like, if I had sold that property, I'd have all the money and everything I put in and a lot more. So I was able to keep that property as an investment and get another house with starting a new career and still working at the hospital. So I'm like, okay, get your head out of the gutter here. Like there's a lot of positives. So then I just started getting that momentum going and being like, this is amazing. Like I have this new career and started getting deals and branching out. And then from the success of the real estate, because like it blew up, like it took off. I couldn't imagine where it was going to go. Like I never imagined my life going that far or that fast in that direction. And then from there, I just found that the opportunities were coming to me because I was just, going to bed happy, waking up excited, and things just started coming at me, like where investment opportunities would come, or like I'd run into new clients. And that's how Nepean Property started with a bunch of friends from elementary school. They were like, hey, one's an engineer, one's a general contractor. We've got like somebody who does a lot of electrical. We've got a guy who owns a roofing company. And then they're like, you're a real estate broker. Why are we not teaming up and having a fun group from like our childhood, but actually like embarking on a business and making some money? So I was like, hey, let's do it. So we did that. Then I had my colleague from the general contracting company that I closed down. He's like, why don't we just get your license, go to school? It's more education here in Ontario. You have to be licensed to build custom homes. So I went into the schooling, opened a couple custom home building companies, and there you go.
So what I'm hearing, and if you guys are listening, pay attention, it wasn't even that he changed his action that much because he's always been hardworking. Sean, you had a mindset change and
I
you
did.
decided to focus on gratitude and being happy and excited that you were on a path with a unlimited income potential and on a whole new career, and that you were on an adventure and you didn't know who, when, or where your first real estate clients would be, but you knew they were coming, and then everything magnetized to him. So that is a beautiful, beautiful story. You have so much going on, Sean. How do you achieve balance between your businesses and your family life?
Well, luckily, I'm passionate about everything that I do, so that all becomes life rather than having to separate business and personal life. I also have a very supportive family, which is also huge. And luckily enough, they've been there. Like, my wife's been there from the start, so she's seen it happen and has always been a supporter, just as my good friends have been. And so that makes a big difference. But time management, that includes time blocking. So I have non-negotiables, just like I believe everybody should. So, I spend time with my son every morning before school. I make sure that I'm taking him to school. I make sure that I'm picking him up at school every day if I can. And that's literally 90% of the time. I also make sure that I'm spending that quality time after school with him from, just before dinner kind of thing up until the time that he goes to bed. I have no issues putting in another 2 or 3 hours of a work shift, whatever I need to do after he goes to bed. Because I'm not willing to sacrifice the time with him. He's in school during the day, so I can work, but I'm not really willing to sacrifice that time missing with him for work.
And how
Uh,
old is he now?
he's 7. He just turned 7.
So you are time blocking,
I
you're
am.
working during certain hours while he's in school, and then when he's at home, you're with him, and then you do another time block after he goes to bed. Where do you get your energy to do all the stuff? Taking him to school, working late into the night after he goes to bed. Where are you getting your energy from? Are you like just high on life? Are you drinking caffeine? Like what's happening over there?
Yeah, a little bit of column A, column B. So yeah, for sure I'm having a coffee in the morning. But I do have I'm extremely consistent and relentless in terms of like what my schedule entails. So I have my lists that are set up every day. The majority of the start of my day is the exact same list every day. So my check boxes, and I trick myself into creating momentum. So I set my schedule up so that I have whatever hard tasks I have, I've set those up in the morning as well, because I do like to tackle Ryan Serhant. I work with him on the real estate side as a mentorship. He's one thing that he put down that I've always picked up is that he likes to tackle the hardest part of his day first thing in the morning. And for him, it's not even work wise, it's going to the gym. So I like putting whatever hard task that I know, I put that in my morning block along with a lot of the easy tasks that I have. And I create a ton of momentum. So I do wake up before my son wakes up and crush an hour or an hour and a half of work, which is the equivalent to what most people are going to do in a 5 to 8 hour shift. Because I've got it so scheduled that I'm knocking all that stuff out and getting that momentum going, so that by the time he wakes up or I take him to school, I'm already flying. I look at my list and I'm like, holy smokes, like, yeah, we're going to get it. And I make sure that aside from going to doctors, dentists, dealing with lawyers and stuff, I don't do anything that I don't want to do. I've put myself in that position.
So
So,
what time do you wake up?
usually, like, honestly, he's not up that early. So usually like between 6 and 7, I'm up.
And then do you make time to go to the gym?
I do. I actually just worked out before the episode. So yeah, usually during the day while he's at school. I used to work out at night. Now I'm finding at my age I'm getting a little bit fatigued to like start crushing workouts at 9:30 or 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So I do time block those now, as a lunch break. Like I'll take whatever amount of time I need, depending on the workout, and get that in during the day. And again, that just starts to refuel me. Like right now I'm operating on an 11, and then I had my coffee at 6 this morning. So
Love it. I love it. So you mentioned your mentor. His name is Ryan Serhant. Is that how you
that's
say
right.
his name?
Yep.
What is other than doing the first thing, the hardest thing in the morning, which is also known as eating the frog? What is another great thing that he taught you as your mentor?
Oh. Wow. Loaded question there. I've picked up a lot of stuff. And there's actually been, you know what? There's probably two things. And one of them was when I first started, we were in different spaces where he's go, go, go. And he's a really great, obviously he's great with his clients, but he's an excellent salesman. And I was able to figure out working with him right away that I am not a salesman. I don't want to be called a salesman. I do a salesman role. Of course, I buy and sell homes with clients. But I wanted to make sure that I really put myself in that customer or that client services category rather than being a sales rep or a salesman. So that's one of the things that I learned from him, is that we're different in that way. And I'm okay with that. I don't need to be, he's the most followed broker, runs the most followed brokerage in the entire world, right? So that's not me. So that's one thing that I actually learned from him without him teaching me, is that it's okay to be different and success is different for everybody. So that's probably a big thing. The follow-up game, I learned from him really early in. Follow up, follow through, follow back. He is fantastic at that. And so he instilled those values into me very early into my career. And that's probably one of the biggest things that separates me from a lot of brokers, is that my follow-up game is unreal, I think. So that's a big thing for sure.
The fortune is in the follow up. So, what are some tips that you can give our listeners for following up? Do you have like a calendar, or do you have a CRM, or what is your follow up method?
I do. I run with two CRMs. So one of them I run for all my clients. So everybody that I'm actually currently working with. And then of course, like I've got my monthly newsletter going through there. I've got everybody's birthdays, anniversary dates, whether it's for a wedding anniversary or that one can be a little bit tricky. But
People get divorced.
correct. Yeah.
Okay, got
The
it.
good, I don't want to say the good thing. I shouldn't say that. I'm usually in the know on those because I'm usually getting a call.
Yeah.
Right. And it's bittersweet because of course it's great for myself and my family in terms of like production, but it always sucks because it's two friends of mine at this point that I've worked with in the past that I'm watching things kind of not work out. So that's that. I have that CRM. So that's all for my actual client base, my sphere of influence, social media ads, anybody else. I like it in a separate database. So it's neat and tidy. And then I have everything programmed. I've done my smart campaigns, especially on my CRM for the people that I don't currently work with or know. I've basically got a 3-year campaign built in for email, video messages, text messages, calls, and all the calls I'm not doing, I have an admin do those calls and follow up on all my social media ads, and doing all the vetting for me so that when leads come my way or to somebody on my team, they're already warm at that point. They're expecting a call.
Incredible. So you have a nurturing sequence, nurturing your leads set up for 3 years in advance. That did you come up with that yourself, or did you learn that from a coach?
Actually, oddly enough, it was kind of baked into the CRM. And then I went through the entire CRM and just tweaked it and personalized every message. But I followed the blueprint from the ideology of the messages, like kind of what the direction was of them. And then if I agreed with them, then I ran with it and just personalized it. And if I thought it was a little too salesy, I would either delete it or I would just alter it so that it was coming from me.
And what is the CRM?
So that CRM is KV Core. It's a good one. I believe it is based in the States. It actually comes with EXP. So when I moved over to EXP Realty from my boutique brokerage, my whole brokerage moved over. We moved over to EXP, and then I started the Sean Frost real estate team, which is my team under EXP.
What does EXP mean?
I don't know, to be honest. I'm not sure. It's just EXP Realty. I don't even know what the letters stand for, but it's great because they let me do my own thing. That was the caveat. That was the big thing for me moving, was as long as I can operate on my own terms, and basically EXP's been extremely good with that. They only deal with my admin. I don't get harassed or bothered. I completely run my own ship. So I couldn't ask for anything better in that regard. But
What is EXP? Are they like a real estate brokerage that
yeah,
you operate under?
they're a big real estate brokerage
Oh,
now.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say. So do you ever get burned out? Do you ever feel like I'm doing too much? I need to back it up a little bit. And if you do get burned out, how do you deal with it?
I do. Yeah, great question. I do, Rebecca. So I try to mix it up. I like to, big or small, I do like to have something to look forward to. Not that I'm hoping for the future, but just something that if I need some clarification or I need to just grab onto something really quick, rather than what I have, I do like to grab onto things like, you know what? It's all good. I'm going to keep pushing through because in 10 days from now, I'm going to be in wine country and checking out, that's where I was this weekend. That's why I'm bringing it up. But
Nice.
I'm, going to be checking out all these wineries and distilleries and breweries in the countryside in these fantastic little chic spots that, only a couple hours away. I just need 24 to 48 hours and just enjoy the fruits of my labor. And then, get back, just take a quick breath, get off the grid for a second, and then hit the ground running. Again, the burnout isn't because I'm getting jaded or disliking what I'm doing. It's sometimes just on me because I'm taking on, like you said, like taking on too much or feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Just take a step back, take a breath. And I'm not the best at doing that, but I just did that. But the other way that I get over being overwhelmed or run down is just really being selective with what I'm doing now. So that was a thing that I struggled with. Now I think I'm pretty successful in the fact that I select things that I'm passionate about, not based on like a monetary value or feeling obliged to do it. Before, my circumstances would kind of make, I'd feel like I should take it on because I needed to. Now I understand that if I'm passing on this, even though it could be fruitful in terms of a return or making money, if I push this aside, I'm still keeping myself open for, I'm still creating that magnetic, basically I'm opening, increasing my vibe that the right opportunity is coming, so that when it does come, I'm not going to be, what happens if I take the first opportunity on and it sucks and I know it's going to suck and I don't like it, and then the right opportunity comes right after on something that I would have loved to do, but I'm too preoccupied with this first one that I don't like. Why do that?
Exactly. I teach my clients don't do anything out of fear, obligation, or guilt because if you show up, just like you said, you're going to show up low vibe, resentful, bored, tired, and you're going to just lower your magnetism and maybe push away a great opportunity. So just rest. That happened to me last night. I just hit a wall. I had a really busy weekend with a lot of work and socializing. And last night I went to bed before 9 because I was exhausted and now I feel great. So if you need to get an extra hour or two of sleep, it's okay to get that rest. How do you think being a dad has changed you as a person? I know you often like told me when we had our first conversation, it was in your bio, he is like the center of your heart. What shift did that make in you as a man being a dad?
Oh, it was everything. I think yeah, I'm just blushing thinking about it. Honestly, I was on the right track on, I don't want to say self-fulfillment, but my heart was full. Like I was feeling so good on my career path and life path and at like before he was born. So I was already in such a great place of not just gratitude, but just overall contentment, like just feeling happy. And like, not to say that I was going to get complacent, but I felt good. So then when he was born, it was something that I didn't know that I was even looking for that existed. That, I think every parent can probably relate that it's just that next level for a lot of us where I don't know, it's like an upper echelon of like existence where you just don't know that it's there until you experience it. And I just absolutely love this guy, as I'm sure every parent does, but I just can't get enough of him. We're attached at the hip. He's my best friend, I'm his best friend, and we have a lot of the same interests, which is great. I'm just a big kid anyway. So yeah, we just have a really, really strong connection. And now, part of it, of course, is that I want to do stuff for him. And that kind of gets to where I'm at in life now, is that now I'm not working on I'm blessed in the sense that I'm not looking to like get the next paycheck or even like increase, my savings. Like, of course, I'm doing all that. Like, I'm still working and hustling and grinding, but now I'm in legacy mode. Like, I'm really trying to get opportunities and create stuff that isn't necessarily going to set him up for the future even more than he needs to be. Like, I'm actually not really a big believer in that. I want to make sure that I'm leaving something and that he's going to be good, but I don't want to put him in a position where he doesn't need to do anything. Because I don't think that's for me. My personal opinion is I don't think that's how life should be lived. I don't think it should be that easy. I think you should embrace the failure, but and embrace the struggle, and everything is going to taste that much sweeter in the end. But I want to leave something so that later on down the road, and that's the kind of nice thing about the home building too, is that I'm building a street in the next couple of years. I own the land with a colleague, and that's kind of a legacy project. So anytime
You're building a street. What's it going to be called?
it's so the street name's already there. It's called McDermott,
Okay.
but yeah, I basically grabbed the lot. It's like a cul-de-sac right now. But we've got from one end to the other. So I'm working with the township just outside of Ottawa. It's in the next couple of years, but that's going to be something that he drives down that street and he's like my dad did this. Like my dad built this street, right? And I just think something tangible. It's just a cool thing. And then the other side for the legacy project is that I put a lot of my marketing money aside from some social media ads and stuff like that. I invest all my marketing advertising money into the community. So that's the other thing that separates me from a lot of people is that rather than doing radio ads, TV, bus stops, all that's, print, not saying that doesn't work because it does. That's not me. I take my stuff and I put it back through the community, which is why I partnered with Atletico Ottawa. So I wish I was the owner of the club, but we're owned by Atletico Madrid, but I am a partner. So the club actually approached me because I'm a big football or soccer fan, and I was going to every game. They approached me to actually become an official partner of the club, so that we could team up and work within the community. So with CHEO last year was the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. This year it's Canadian Blood Services. The opening match is this Saturday that we're working on stem cell research together. So that's where I invest my money because one, it builds my personal brand. Two, it's creating this. I have an issue of like being forgotten when I'm gone. That's one thing that I struggle with is that when my time comes, who's going to remember me? And I don't know if it's ego based, pride based. I can't really figure that out. I have an issue that I don't want to be forgotten. And I'm trying to create a legacy that will maybe, give me some longevity in that and being like, you know what, that guy was a pretty cool guy.
I think it's great. I actually had a dream last night and I was like asking, I don't even know, an angel, do you have any advice for me, like about being a human? And the angel said, it ends. So for everyone, for every human, it ends. We're here on a temporary basis. And I think having the awareness that you do, Sean, of I'm not going to be here forever and I want to make an impact and make my mark. That is one of my driving forces too. So
Awesome.
I'm very aware that this experience is going to end and how many people can we impact and help while we're here. And it's so great that you're using your money to invest back in the community instead of just doing traditional advertising. You're putting your name on these different projects. So tell us a little bit more about the soccer club. Like, talk about a manifestation, guys. They came to him. How does that even happen? How does this professional soccer team find out about you as a fan and ask you to be a partner? And what does that mean? Does that mean that you are investing or just doing their community outreach? Like, how are you a partner?
Yeah, so I had season tickets when the club first started, so I've been there since day one. So the
Mm,
club first started, we had lost our team a few years ago, and this was a new chance, a brand new start for football or for soccer in Ottawa. We're owned by Atletico Madrid, which is one of the biggest football clubs in the entire world.
oh yeah.
They actually came back and said, "Hey, we want to put a team in Ottawa," which I couldn't believe, but sure enough, it was legit. And they went through the first season, and I was there as a season ticket holder, and I purchased a suite. So I purchased the box at the stadium and went to every game. And walking down the in the back rooms and the hallways and stuff, you see every suite that's there, and these are the massive, massive, national corporations that have these suites that are sponsors, right? So they would be investing, but using advertising and this and that and the other, which, great play. But I didn't realize that I was the only one that had a suite as a supporter, no obligations, nothing from the club needed. It was just because I wanted to be there. And so that season ended, and I guess they had done some digging. Well, they had done some digging. It was, they did their research and found out, hey, one, not only is he a big supporter of the club, he also has a big, like a bigger social reach than we do. He's got a bigger voice right now than we do because we're just getting started, or bigger in a different avenue. He's a massive supporter. Let's sit down and do a lunch and let's see if he's interested. So they did have a pitch for me. So they just took me to lunch. I brought my right hand, my colleague, and we sat down for lunch, went over terms, and I was absolutely blown away with what they were basically offering. There was a financial obligation on my end to buy into the partnership, which was it was a no-brainer. It was the easiest decision I ever made, for all the right reasons. One, I'm still getting the suite that's included in everything, but the whole partnership was based on community engagement and community give back, with the club as the big brother that would offer the doorway that we could, the door that we were able to kick down in all these avenues. So I couldn't believe it. And not only that, but the club does an incredible job of making me feel like I'm part of the club. They let everybody know at any point, whether it's through media, whether it's through events. They are, I can't say enough good things. And it literally is a dream come true. Like, I might walk around a few times, throughout the year with my chest puffed out, just because I'm absolutely, like, I'm so proud to be part of it, and what we're doing in the community. Like, we've won multiple awards across the country for our community work, which is something that I probably wouldn't have been able to do on my own.
That's wonderful. Do you ever watch the show Ted Lasso?
I do, of course.
You're like the Ted Lasso of Ottawa. You're
Oh
like
my God, what a compliment. I wish.
positive and you don't have like a big background in soccer, but you're like, sprinkling your magic fairy dust of positivity everywhere and like helping the children. And it's pretty awesome. I think that's going to be my new nickname for you, the Ted Lasso of Ottawa.
I will take it. Thank you.
There you go. So you lead a team in real estate. You also have employees. How many people do you think you're leading between all your different ventures?
Not many, small circles. That's one of the things that I stick to. So I have two admins that kind of help me across all platforms, all businesses. I have an event coordinator who also acts as kind of like my right hand in terms of bouncing ideas off of. I know that she'll always give it to me straight, good or bad. So that's important to have. And then I do have a junior agent underneath on the real estate side with my real estate team. And then I do have a lot of crews on the construction side that I work with. So that they're not actual employees. I sub them out, but it's a lot of different trades and a lot of different groups that I trust with everything, that I'm super fortunate to have as part of my quote unquote team. So really, I'm operating with like 3 to 4 other day-to-day as like directly on the team, and then the rest of everybody else is kind of either doing their own thing or they're like an extension.
But you have a lot of delegation between the subcontractors and which is why you're able to do so much. So
Yes.
that is
So
that
sorry,
is
Rebecca, to cut you off. Before I
yeah,
lose that thought, I do that intentionally. Any
yeah,
new business at this point that I start, my like time is more valuable than money to,
yeah.
for a lot of people. Easier said when you get to the point where you can make that switch. That doesn't happen overnight. You have to get to that point. I totally understand that. But now I only start new business ventures with a partner. I always take a partner, and I usually pick somebody. I have to know them previously and I have to trust them.
Hmm.
Then I also try to make sure that that's going to be their focus. So if that's their bread and butter, I'll take less of a percentage and have them run the day to day, and I can do some overseeing, or just take a step back and watch it grow, offer my insight and advice when needed, but let that business take off without having to do much, so that my time doesn't get compromised. Yes, I can be a partner or a co-owner or whatever. To me, that doesn't matter. The title doesn't matter. The percentages don't matter. As long as I'm happy with it, then I'm good. I don't care if I'm taking 25%, as long as I got to the 25% on my own and I agree with it. No problem. 50%, 60%, 75, it doesn't matter.
Time is more valuable than money, because money, you can spend it, make it, spend it again, and time is something that we never get back. And you're very aware of your child being 7 and wanting to spend time with him, which is so great. So, the last question before we wrap it up, if you could have a huge billboard next to the highway with one piece of advice that the whole world would drive by and see, what would that billboard say?
Oof. You know what? I think selfishly it would just be my mantra. It would be live like they dream. Super simple, and I think you could take that in so many different ways. But I'm just a firm believer in action over just thought, right? Or just talking. There's so many instances where people scheme or think about things or try to come up with business ventures or whatnot, and then they don't do they don't take action. They don't do a business plan. They don't actually get it off the ground. And that's one thing that I embrace failure. I love falling on my face. I have no problem looking dumb, because one, I know peace of mind that I tried it and it didn't work, or I tried it and it didn't work, but now I know why it didn't work. So the next time I get into a situation like that, I'm going to use it to my advantage. But people always envision something, not, that's wrong. I shouldn't say always, but people often envision something grander than what they're doing. And like, oh, I wish I was doing this. Well, so like, if I live like they dream, it's not that I want to live somebody else's life, but like what other people only think of, I'm going to do that, because if I want to do it, I'm doing it. I got it on my wall behind me in my office. I have it tattooed across my chest. I look in the mirror and I know, like, live like they dream. What people only talk about, I could do that in my sleep if I feel so inclined to do so.
Well, you heard it here on the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant show. Live like they dream. Don't just think about it, live it, do it, manifest it.
That's right.
And Sean is a great example of how he has been able to do that through raising his vibration, having a servant leadership attitude of wanting to give back, and just being like high vibe and excited about his life, whether he's just starting off as a hospital aide, just got his real estate license, or now he has this empire. He still has the same high vibe, which is such a great example on how to manifest. So, Sean, I know my listeners are going to want to follow you on social and stay in touch with you. How can people contact you?
The best and easiest way is follow me on Instagram. So out of all platforms, that's the one I'm most active on, and that's the one that I'm sharing most of my life on, from family side, real estate, being back in the music industry. All of that stuff is found on my Instagram at I am Sean Frost. So you can follow me there, send me a message, and of course, like, my email is on there as well. So anybody, Rebecca, that is looking to do something but is ready to take action, you can email me, and I have all the time in the world for somebody that's trying to make something of themselves and actually do it. If you want to just have a discussion and shoot the breeze, I'm sorry, that's not really what I'm looking for. But if I can help you out in any way that you're actually prepared to, not, you don't have to take my advice, but you have to be pushing towards the goal that you set for yourself, I'm more than happy to help and more than happy to chat.
Wow, that is so generous of you. Thank you, Sean. You have been an amazing guest. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant show. If you found value in this episode, go ahead and share it with a friend. Take a screenshot on your phone. Tag me and Sean. What is your Instagram name so they can tag you?
Mine, it's I am Sean Frost.
I am Sean Frost. I'm at Rebecca E. Whitman. Give us a tag. We'll reshare it in our stories. Go ahead and leave a 5-star review and subscribe to the show, because every week we have an amazing guest like Sean who's going to help you raise your vibration and live life like you want to. Going from burned out and overwhelmed to balanced, beautiful, and abundant. And until we meet again, keep your vibe high and magnetized. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to another amazing episode of the Balanced, Beautiful, and Abundant podcast. It's your loyal listening that makes our show top 0.5% in the world. I would love to connect with you in person. We're having our second international retreat October 3rd through 6th in Belize. If you like yoga, sound baths, and want to get all 7 pillars of abundance to a level 10, this retreat is for you. Just go to the link tree in the show notes to snag your $200 off promo code before April 15th. And let's end the year 2024 with momentum so that going into 2025, you will have so much abundance in all areas of life that you will be setting yourself up for the most incredible year ever. It is going to give you something to look forward to all year. Make sure you snag your spot before April 15th. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at RebeccaElizabethWhitman.com. My email address is on my website. Thank you so much for your loyal listening. And we will see you on the next episode. And some of you lucky ladies will see you in Belize. Bye.